really need to talk about this. What even is this about Shangri-La Frontier? I really think I've talked about it every week, but the fact that we once again got another incredible fight. Honestly, probably if you took a group of 10 action-focused series, 5 out of 10 of those shows would look worse in its biggest fight than this small fight in this episode 23 out of episode 25. And by the end of it, Sunraku said, I ain't done yet. That Crystal Scorpion, that level 100 badass up there, I'm gonna go fight that. And maybe it looks awful. Maybe that's where it finally goes off the rail production. But I doubt it. But the fact that for 23 freaking episodes, almost every one of those episodes had a big fight of some sort. And it's not even just about the fights, but I think those are really important to flex how a quality's holding up. The amount of hand-drawn, well-animated scenes, lack of slideshow characters throwing themselves, moving from left to right. They're actually moving, they're being animated, but the general look of the show is animated and produced, and the consistent quality in the art direction. You would think in any given episode there would be at least something to nitpick. The only thing I could see people maybe making a joke out is of the 3D skeletons, but it's like with last week, it's funny seeing them scurry off. It's even funnier when he does like a big growl and they scurry off. I don't really think that's an issue, and honestly they blended in quite well. I don't know if I'm the only one feeling this, but thinking about it, I actually think Shangri-La Frontier might be the most consistent anime I've seen in a long time, because its general look looks great. The character designs are fantastic, the color palette, the lighting, the atmosphere, the background directing, whether it was that glowing forest, which was beautiful and majestic, to this like, it almost has like a purple lighting with like this black smoke kind of seeping down. Every little area feels like an actual well thought out and designed video game level. The production isn't just, wow, look at how crazy that animation was, that Sakuga Fest. It's the general look, it's the general feel. This doesn't feel like some basic bitch production. This show looks great, the comedy direction looks great, but most importantly, it's animated 10 out of 10. I'm gonna say it, and I'm sure people will disagree, but I actually think this is the most consistent show that I have seen in the past couple of years. Not saying that there hasn't been better animated scenes or aspects in those past couple of years. I could point to many that I'd say, oh, I think this specific shot looks better, or that specific episode maybe looks better than a specific episode of Shangri-La. But when we take the whole package of 23 episodes, I think this is the king. That's just me. I may have a hot take about that. Maybe not many people are going to agree with that, but fuck it, it's my channel. I say that. But anyway, I have a full live reaction to this week's episode of Shangri-La Frontier over on my Patreon. If you want to see my full uncut thoughts, they're over there if you're interested alongside any of these beautifully, wonderfully produced episodes. So, great episode. Honestly, I'm surprised the sword survived. I was 100% expecting it to shatter, which I was going to be okay with because, well, when it comes to video games, how many of us have played a game? Damn, this new item is really cool. Shit, we need to use the item right away. It's like one of two things usually happens with a gamer mindset. You never use that weapon because you want to save it for something, and then it just never gets used because you're like, no, I can't waste this great item on this like lame boss, even though the boss is kicking our ass. Or, you know, you use it pretty much right away. And in this case, we used it pretty much right away. And we ended up going, because as soon as you read the title, I'm like, what the hell is a skeleton choir? I'm thinking, like, is it going to be some floating heads doing a little, like, orchestra? No, we have this, like, I don't know, like, this woman let herself go. That's all I'm saying. But she was a cool fight. But it had to use holy magic in order to do it. So we had to use, of course, a mule as our old little hand cannon in order to get some damage in. Bylek ends up forging the weapon we got from the Dullahan in last episode with coating it with some holy water. Of course, couldn't actually like forge it into a proper blade, but it had 8 hits before it would shatter. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna get good, this is gonna get interesting. And honestly, the idea of calling back, and this is like another little element, and I'm going to bring up as many as I can think of, because every time I see an episode, there's a handful of moments I'm like, once again, this feels like someone who plays video games, understands game design, and honestly, if they made a freaking game, as long as the programming team could match their vision, they would be making a freaking good game. So in the Weathermon fight, of course, Sunraku was doing his things, and the other two were doing theirs. But naturally, when you have raids, or you have just gamer pals, you talk about what you did, what they did, and the idea of pretty much having like a item or a weapon inside or attached, like whether you stab them in the heart, the leg, wherever, and then impaling it for that final blow. Got the idea from them, and which is how they ultimately defeated this skeleton, because we pretty much like put it up the jaw area, and then in comes the hammer of death swing and game over. Luckily, the sword survives, so it means we can repair it into something even better, which I will say, I actually think this might be my favorite weapon Sunraku's had. Once it was done like being coated, I don't know, it was a very simplistic design, but the black kind of stroke around the blade, the width of it, the design, it just felt really cool. Like it was just it wasn't overly complex in a design, but it's one of those weapons I'm like, I would use that sword for a good 10 hours past where I should use it, because I just like the look. It may be weaker than other swords I'm up to at that point in the game, but the sword, it just clicks with me. I really like it. I don't know what it was exactly. It's simplistic, but it has like an elegance to it in a way, is probably how I'd put it. But the production was great. I mean, we were running around, we were throwing characters left and right. It's honestly hilarious because could you imagine? So Sunraku has 1 HP at the end of this fight, right? He throws a mule up and a mule hits him on the head. He loses like 8 or 9 health points. Could you imagine if he died? They would just have to stand there and wait for him to get back. It's fantastic. It absolutely is. But we're in a new city. We have a new landmark lock, so we can, using the rabbit door, we can go to this city or the other city. So we're pretty good. And he ends up sending them back. And in Sunraku, do we trust? He's going up to fight that giant crystal scorpion that, of course he is. Because for him, it's not even really about like an end goal. It's just fighting strong shit. It's just fun for him. And it's good because if he would have brought them with, you know, we know NPCs die. If they die, they don't come back, so they would just be dead, and he would lose a friend, he would lose a companion, and as much as it's great to be able to travel with other players, or NPCs in this case, I love the idea that he's smart enough to say, hey, I'm a bit crazy, but I value these characters, so we're gonna make sure they're safe in their own little homes. You can go repair the sword, do whatever you're doing, I'm gonna go fight a skeleton, crystal scorpion thing. It's probably not a skeleton, but it will be when everything's all said and done. I just love the show. I really do. It's easily my favorite video game anime. It's something that I am going to be crossing my fingers that we get a season 2 sooner rather than later. But the biggest thing is I hope the same production team works on season 2 if we do get a confirmation at the end, because this show is so consistent. And hell, even SLF Theater recently, which I've never been the biggest fan of, like, I've always watched them and usually got a smile out of them, but they've been pretty forgettable for the most part. The last month or two of SLF Theater, I just really enjoy. Like, just, I don't know, they're more wholesome, they're more cute, they're more meaningful. I don't know, it's just, I like them a lot more these days. But let me know what you thought of this week's episode, and do you agree with me? Like, for me, this is the most consistent anime I've seen in a couple of years, if I'm being completely honest. But, you know, let me know yours if you have a different one. But either way, feels down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell so you can notify when I upload more. And like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got GG78CC, Cathical, Big Boy J, Cryptic, Blood iOS, the Random Man Anime Man, Sleeping Knight, Riptide, Valorix, Adam Dundorf, David Story, and Athmil. I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.